Let me first welcome you all to the Oakland Mayor Candidate Forum on Jobs on this evening, Wednesday, October the 1st. We want to thank you all for being here this evening to participate in the Forum Oakland. We are honored to be able to hold this forum here in the Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seals Student Lounge. A very special thank you, all right, please, okay, for the students. And I'm going to ask some of our volunteers and members to monitor and close those doors to the lobby for people who are, thank you, be on top of it, thank you very much. So we're honored to be in this facility, the Huey P. Newton, as I said, and Bobby Seals Student Lounge. A very special thank you to our event partner, Dr. Siri Brown. Give Siri a round of applause. She's the dynamic chair of African American Studies Department in the Black Student Union. Give the Black Student Union here, and the Office of the President of Merritt College for allowing this forum to take place here. Let me tell you a bit about BWAPA, and I think I may have failed to introduce myself. I was trying to get such order. I am there, Siri. Please give Dr. Siri, give her a round of applause. She was outside working when we were doing this. I am honored to be the statewide president of Black Women Organized for Political Action, as we affectionately call it, BWAPA. And it's the oldest such organization of its kind in the state of California. It was designed many years ago to engage and encourage African American women to get involved in the public policy arena and to get involved in becoming public officials elected and appointed. And we have to this date, over the past 45 years, been successful in placing over 150 women across this nation in office. And I think that deserves a round of applause. And with that, I might mention, if you're interested in joining us and becoming a member of this organization, visit our website at www.bwapa.org. And I didn't receive in my cheat notes where I was supposed to introduce the local president. I call myself reviewing it, but if not, I am going to take that liberty. The Oakland Berkeley chapter president is Dr. Kimberly Mayfield. Give her a round of applause. Does great work up at Holy Names College in Oakland, and we're just very proud of her leadership here with this Bay Area chapter. Also consider joining us, and this again is BWAPA, on November the 1st for our biannual statewide leadership summit. It's entitled Mobilizing for Leadership and Power. It is from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. That evening at 6 p.m., we will follow that with our honoring the Ella Hill Hutch Leadership Award winners from throughout the state of California. And we will be having to join some of our Men of the Year and main horses, a slate of about 15, I think, new main horses will be joining you, Sandra Swanson, in that arena. So we're delighted and hope that you will join us again on November the 1st. There are flyers, I think, either on the table outside or that you have in your seats. We're giving you more information about that. But join us. It's going to be a dynamic conference, and we have two phenomenal guest speakers that will be participating in that arena. And at this time, we would like to acknowledge our forum co-hosts, Healthy Communities Incorporated. Give them a round of applause for their helping. Oakland Works. We mentioned Merritt College and the Black Student Union. Give that AKAs a round of applause. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. Bay Area Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. Delta's in the house. And of course, as we mentioned before, the African American Studies Department here at Merritt College. We want to remind you of a couple of things before we get started. On Tuesday, of course, November the 4th, Oakland citizens will determine the city leadership for the next 4 years. Please make sure you are able to participate in the November election by registering to vote. And if you've just turned 18 or have recently moved, that is a main reason you should go out. We want all the new 18-year-olds to make sure they're participating in this process. So don't forget to make sure you meet the deadline. There is a voter registration table in the foyer sponsored by Women of AKA. So don't forget to please, if you have not signed up, to do so before you leave this evening. We want you to also remember that early voting begins on October the 6th, 2014. And you know what is often said is some elections are won through early voting, all right? And some of us don't participate in early voting, and something happens the day of elections, and we run into emergencies, or the weather is bad, and for some reason we can't get out. But if you do that early voting, you've already taken care of your business, right? So we encourage you to do that. And even if you haven't, if you do that, make sure that you bring some friends along with your family. Last day to register to vote is October the 20th, and vote by mail ballots will be sent out next week, 29 days before the election. So make sure that you remember those dates, and the last day to request at vote by mail ballot is October the 28th. So it's important to have those dates in mind so you can truly be engaged in the process. At this time, it is my pleasure to ask the Chancellor of the Peralta Community College District, Chancellor Jose Ortiz, to come up and make brief remarks. Dr. Ortiz. He may not be here yet, so we've got somebody.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Elmer Bugg. I'm the Vice President of Instruction here at Merritt. And on behalf of Chancellor Ortiz and Dr. Ambrice Galavis, who is our president, I want to welcome you to Merritt's campus. I joined Merritt about a year ago, and one of the reasons that I joined Merritt was because Merritt had an outstanding record for being involved with the community. This is a prime example of that. Please give yourself a round of applause, because this is an outstanding showing. Being involved in the community, being involved in the political state of what goes on in our community and what its role is to the educational process, all of these issues are fundamental for us to be able to serve the communities that rely on us to provide them the education that they deserve and the education that's required, both in terms of the employment opportunities that are out there in the field, but also in terms of what the community needs from an activist standpoint. Our programs here at the college meet and respond to those needs, and we are extremely proud that Dr. Siri Brown has in fact been a champion and an advocate for what we do. Please, one more time for Dr. Brown. I'm eager to hear the voices of what commitments and challenges that are seen and faced by these candidates, their words of encouragement, the words of hope that we in fact look forward to. Again, on behalf of Dr. Jose Ortiz, Chancellor of the Peralta Community College District, Dr. Ambrice Galavis, President of Merritt College, we welcome you, and we are in fact enthralled and looking forward to these remarks. Thank you very much.
Dr. Bugg, thank you very much. And I just want you to know that this used to be a place I used to work and teach about 50 years ago. So it's good to be home as always. Let me now present the forum overview for this evening. We're going to introduce our panelists and, of course, the candidates. Thank you very much, Siri. And what we were going to do is each candidate will have a minute and a half for opening and closing statements. Then each host sponsor will pose 2 questions to specific candidates. The candidate response time will also be a minute and a half. The timekeeper, where are you? So you're supposed to sit right there in the front. Timekeeper, thank you, timekeeper, will be holding up a 30-minute second signage, and make sure you follow that. When you see that 30 minutes, like 30 seconds, not minutes, we'll be here all night. 30 seconds, I want you to wrap up because I have a long cane here that if you don't wrap up during that, ladies and gentlemen, I will use that cane, and most of you up here know I will do that, right? Yes, so we're going to make sure we stay on time. Let me again present the candidates and ask them at this point. We're going to just go down to this line, introducing yourself, Charles Williams, and this is for your 1.5 minute timekeeper opening statement. All right. Thank you.
I am Charles R. Williams. I'm retired U.S. Navy chief. I'm not an emotional person, I'm going to tell you that right now. I was in the Navy for 20 years. I spent 4 years in Vietnam, so it took a lot of things out of me and put a lot of things in me. I'm the ship overhaul chief. I started 50 years ago, building, overhauling, managing, and administration of billion-dollar contracts and ships. For 20 years, I've been a military contractor. Even after I retired, contracting all over the world, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, North Africa, just about around. I came to Oakland because 1970, I was 69, 70, I was here. I was the chief engineer at Treasure Island, and I was the chief engineer of the tug fleet that hauled weapons from Concord to the open seaway. And I'm going to tell you, that taught me a lot about the Bay Area. I got around here, and I studied things and looked at things, and I said one day I want to retire here, and I did. In the last few years, I've been working for the city and county of San Francisco, so I have learned what, how, and what not to do in governing and building a city. I worked for Willie Brown's administration on the tail end, all of Gavin Newsom, and all of Mary Lee's. And people have been tutoring me and getting me boned up for this. And 6 months ago, I made up my mind I was going to run for this. And again, whatever has to be done to get the job done, in my military mind, yes, ma'am.
Great example of following the timeline. All right, please, Said.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Saeed Karamuz, and I thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you for the nice gift. Let me start by saying that if you choose to believe any of the promises, any of the hollow promises that you hear tonight, then you must believe my hollow promise that if elected, I will have green lights at every intersection at all times in Oakland. Unless you've given big money to these candidates who generate 96% of their campaign funds from large donors, big corporations, special interests, and deep pockets, then don't expect them to serve you after the election. Only 4% of their donations come from ordinary folks of under $100. They all claim to be diehard Oaklanders, yet they draw majority of their campaign funds from outside of Oakland. 57% they draw from outside of Oakland, including our mayor, including our council members, and the city auditors. So every election cycle is no different than what we're seeing. An empty promise like all green lights. They take the credit for the time saved, they take the credit for gasoline not burned, and they blame everyone else for the accidents that happen. So let me give you 3 quick distinguishing facts about me. 1, I'm not taking a dime of donations, therefore I will not be remote controlled by big donors. 2, I have the Can I finish this? Or? Okay.
Finish it
well,
in your closing remarks.
I will finish in the closing remarks.
Okay, that's your choice. I don't want to insist that you do that. Now, we have a mic that can be passed. It's up to you. Thank you so much for helping us. And by the way, I did mention you will have 1.5 minutes for closing after the questions. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. That's better. Okay. My name is Joe Tuman. If you don't know me, I've lived here for 30 years. I'm a full professor and a former department chair at San Francisco State, where we get lots of students, by the way, from Merritt College. And I am also a candidate to be mayor of the city of Oakland. I would want you very quickly to know in my background that I am the child of immigrants to this country who came in the mid-1950s from Iran seeking a better life for themselves. I would want you to know that for my family, education was transformative in our lives, In my father's life, we grew up in a village with poor parents, and he managed to not only make it himself as a professor, but also to make sure that everyone who followed him not only went to college, but got at least one graduate degree. And I know the power of education to be transformative. I understand that one of your questions tonight is going to ask about economic development. Believe me, for me, that is about education. I would also want you to know about me very quickly tonight that I'm focused on safety and economic development in this campaign, and I'm very proud to be endorsed by the longshoremen who work at the port. That's going to be one of your questions, I think. Also, the AFL-CIO heavy equipment operators, because they know if I'm mayor, we're going to be building things, and there'll be lots of cranes in the sky. I'm also endorsed by the Pastors Association, along with Dan Siegel and Brian Parker. And I'm very proud also to be the #1 endorsement choice of the Oakland Tribune, the hometown newspaper. I do thank you for coming tonight, and I look forward to your questions.
Good evening. My name is Libby Schaff, and I am born and raised in Oakland, proud graduate of Skyline High School, and as a, go Titans, all right? And as a community volunteer and public servant, I have dedicated my entire life to making Oakland better. I'm running for mayor because it's time that we stop believing that crime is some sort of urban tax that we have to pay for living here. It's time that residents start getting the services that they deserve. And it's as basic as it gets that you should know a cop will come when you call. Now, I know Oakland's challenges. I started my career as an attorney at the largest law firm in Oakland, and I quit that to start a centralized volunteer program for the Oakland Public Schools at the Marcus Foster Educational Institute. I have worked as a port director, with the council president, with Mayor Jerry Brown, where I helped develop a violence prevention program that reduced recidivism for young people by 83%. As mayor, and I was elected to the city council in 2010, where I have worked to rebuild our police department, brought a micro-lending program to Oakland to grow our small businesses, and brought some good government reforms that have put an end to backroom budget deals and have also made public information accessible for the very first time. I would be honored to have your vote. I am very proud to be an Oakland mayor candidate and would love to be the leader of my hometown.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Libby Schaaf. Next speaker, Nancy.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Sidebotham, and I'm a graduate from Merritt College, 1968 down on Grove Street. So this is my alma mater. And then I went on to Cal State Hayward, not East Bay. I'm still at Hayward. I'm running because I'm angry, I'm fed up, and I want to see change. I want to see leadership in this city. I want people to come back to work for Oakland that actually care about Oakland, that have the credentials to run the departments. We have a city that has a lot of potential, but we have no jobs. We have no businesses. Yes, there are businesses, but they're small businesses. I'm a business owner. I've had my business in Oakland since 1973. I do taxes for a living, so I understand accounting and budgets. But we need help in Oakland. And you know something? None of us up here, whoever is elected mayor, can do it without all of you helping. So when you're looking at us that are running, you need to start asking the hard questions. Saeed brought up very good points. You need to look at that. You need to decide what it is you want in a mayor and what kind of representation you want, and not just your vote, but what's going to happen the next 4 years. Are you going to be listened to? I'm one of those that is a leader. I'm head of my crime prevention council. I'm on the board of, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dan Siegel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Siegel. My political career started in the 1960s when I joined the civil rights movement and went south in 1965 to defy the KKK and register people to vote. As a result of that experience, I became a civil rights lawyer, came to Berkeley, went to Berkeley Law School, and have practiced civil rights law in this community since 1974. I'm really honored to be in this room because in 1969 I met the leaders of the Black Panther Party, and in 1971 I was co-chair of the committee to defend the Black Panther Party against police murders, COINTELPRO, and all of the surveillance and oppression they faced. And I view this election for mayor here in Oakland in 2014 as a continuation of our struggle for civil rights. And that is why my priorities as mayor will be, number one, a $15 minimum wage for all people so that people who have a job can earn a living wage. Number two, early childhood education for all 3- and 4-year-olds. And number three, a complete reorganization of the Oakland Police Department. I want to have a zero tolerance for police abuse and federal oversight, implement community policing 100% for the first time so that we have cops not as outside invaders, but as people who come into our community to work with us to create a safe and just society. Thank you.
Maybe hand me that one. There, it's right here. It's right here.
Mayor Kwan.
Thank you. Good evening. It's good to be Merritt College again, and it reminds me of probably my student history before some of you were born. When I was Dan and Dan were at Berkeley together, we worked on real institutional change. My husband and I helped found the Third World Studies Department and Ethnic Studies, Asian American, African American, Latino, and Native American Studies. And we need to learn from that history. This city is one of the most diverse in the world, and it is rising right now. And what my goal of mayor has been is to make sure that we all rise together. I've worked in every part of the city, not just some. I've worked to create jobs all over the city, not just some areas like downtown. We have helped turn around the economy in Oakland with the help of Sandra Sanson, my deputy mayor over here, particularly the Oakland Army base that laid fallow for 10 years. And now we saved the money, the jobs are coming, 50% of them are going to Oaklanders. We're going to address that to some questions later. We also got the Brooklyn Basin project going, 3,000 homes when no U.S. bank would lend to us. We got a Chinese investor, and now we have 11,000 homes in the pipeline. And hopefully Coliseum City, hard challenge, but if it goes, it'll also create thousands of jobs for East Oakland. We need to make sure that every part of the city prospers, that we're not just talking about the minimum wage, but we talk about good paying jobs.
Thank you. Brian Parker.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be in front of you. I'd like to thank our hosts, Pawapa, including Desi, that I've gotten a chance to work with on the Workforce Investment Board, and I didn't know my sorority sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha were going to be here, so you guys are feel free to ski-wee and do all that. Saeed was right about something. Some of us do have big money donors, although they didn't know it. So I'm going to tell my mom tonight that she is now a big money donor. And we're going to be beholden to these big money donors. Again, back to my mom. Because I'm going to be beholden to this single mother who raised me out in Stockton and taught me the value of hard work and education and of equality for all. See, I'm a kid from Stockton. That got to go forward in life because I won a scholarship to Berkeley and then NYU Law. If we look in our society and in Oakland right now, we have two very unequal tales. And one is a society that has a whole lot. The other, particularly out in East and West Oakland, don't have very much at all. City Hall has failed to address this issue, but I'm here to say I'm going to fight for this, and I'm going to fight to unite us, and I'm going to fight so that regardless of where somebody grows up in this city, they're going to know that they are not limited in how far they can go. So investing in education and economic opportunities in all parts of our city. I know that we'll talk about this more, but I'm proud to be living in Oakland, raising my family here, and serving you as a Port Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rebecca Kaplan.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight and for taking the time to get involved in these decisions about the future of Oakland. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I'm very honored to serve as your council member at large, elected citywide to serve all the people of Oakland. I also wanted to share some about what I've learned and who I've learned from as we do this crucial work to make sure that we are guaranteeing affordable housing, local jobs, access to healthy food, and safe neighborhoods for everyone in Oakland. I'd like to extend appreciation to everybody who's here from the Administration of Justice Department right here at Merritt College, because you all are part of the solution. When we talk about the need to strengthen public safety and strengthen ties and trust between our community and the police department, the people in this department are part of who are making that happen. Now, I grew up attending Orthodox Bible school, and I learned from a young age something important. Psalm 118, verse 22, "The rock the builders rejected shall become thy topmost cornerstone." When people say Oakland can't do it, or we're not good enough, I say that's not true. That's why I'm fighting for local hiring policies and local business contracting. That's why I'm fighting for prompt payment, that we pay our bills on time to our local businesses and nonprofits and build a stronger Oakland.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Council Member.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Anderson. I'm a candidate for mayor of Oakland, and I take this very seriously. I'm a 7-year military veteran, born and raised in Oakland, California, in the Greater Bay Area. My grandmother and granddaddy moved out here in 1943 in the Great Migration. So I'm a true product of what progress in Oakland is supposed to look like. A third-generation resident that is able to run for mayor of Oakland. And the reason why I got to this point and how I made it here is through education and understanding my elders, listening to my elders or my mentors, and actually moving forward progress and not being afraid to take risks. It's a risk to run for mayor, ladies and gentlemen. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job to run, nor is it an easy job to be. But throughout my whole life, I took the risk. The risk of being joining the Navy at 20 years old, the risk of defending my country, the risk of getting out the Navy instead of doing 20 years, and then doing civil service with DMV, and then the risk of quitting that and becoming an artist and actually discovering who I am as a person and not letting the establishment decide who I am. So, with that being said, I would like to say that we have forgotten with my last 30 seconds that this is the anniversary of the Black Panther movement for self-defense. A lot of people have failed to mention this in the systemic of what we've forgotten in our past and what we need to do in our future. You want a mayor that remembers the past and can move us to a better future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Courtney Ruby.
Good evening, I'm Courtney Ruby, and it's time to tell it like it is. We have the best city in the Bay Area, and we have the worst city government. I'm a CPA, an auditor. I have spent my whole professional career separating fact from fiction and getting results. I know that if we focus on the facts, we can have a city government as incredible as our city. I have taken a troubled agency and turned it into a model of accountability, transparency, and results. From one of the worst to one of the very best. I know we can do it because I've done it already. I know that our problems are serious, but I know that if we start with public safety, the rest will get easier. We have to identify the funding through waste and mismanagement so we have enough money to hire more police officers. We've got to increase our economic base by driving high-wage employers here. And we have got to give our kids a fighting chance in school by making sure that we're increasing that economic base to fund better schools. So besides being a department head, I am blessed to be the mother of 2 brilliant boys. And I want to raise them here in Oakland to be strong and safe and successful. And that's why I'm running, because they deserve, and we all deserve, a city government as great as our city. Thank you.
Perfect timing on that, Courtney. Thank you very much. speaker.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Sam Washington. I'm running as a write-in candidate for mayor of Oakland. Why am I doing that when you have so many well-qualified candidates running? It's really simple. I'm the most qualified person running. What do I mean by that? And usually when I say that, people laugh. I grew up in poverty in Mississippi. My experience with the Klan was in Sacramento while I was working against gentrification, and I wasn't in the back on a committee somewhere. I was the guy doing it. So when they threatened to bomb my church and my house, I was there. I did the same thing in San Francisco, working against gentrification there, working with Mayor Brown. Currently, I'm manager of all access for a company called Kaiser Permanente. And that means every desktop, every server, every network, every operation. How did I get to be that? Coming up out of a poverty, being 6 of 8 out of a life of poverty, you learn to do what it takes to deliver for people. You absolutely do that. I built small businesses. I'm doing it right out of my campaign offices right now, working with brothers and sisters to build their businesses. You learn to deliver. You learn to work with people who are homeless, who are down, who are struggling. And you learn at the same time to build multi-billion-dollar operations from scratch when no one says it can't be done. That's why I'm running for mayor. Nobody up here has that record. Nobody. I'm the guy who's coming on board asking you to write Sam on your ballot because I'm prepared and experienced in building Oakland.
Thank you very much, Mr. Washington. Let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. Thank you for sticking to the time. Thank you, Cynthia, for just the wonderful job that you're doing, and we want to continue that. Make sure they stay on that timeline. Let me also indicate at this time that we do have 3 candidates that are not present, so we want to acknowledge before we get into the next phase of our panel raising the questions. I think we're missing, is it Lou, Houston, and Wilson, I believe, that are candidates that were invited, so you'll know that, but have not yet made it. So we're going to continue on with our scheduled program. It's my pleasure at this time to introduce our esteemed panel, and they are made up of the co-sponsoring organizations that are hosting this event. And they will, each of the panelists will be raising questions to our candidates. And again, we ask the candidates to do as you did the first round. Respond to the questions within a 1.5 minute time frame, and I know that you all are skilled and able to do that. All right, so at this point, representing the Oakland-Berkeley chapter of VWAPA will be Treva Reed, the second vice president. Treva will be asking that. Representing Oakland Works is Kitty Kelly Epstein. My friend Kelly. Representing Merritt College BSU is J.R. Valerie, president. Mr. J.R. Valerie. Representing Healthy Communities, was scheduled to be, and who was on our panel, was Pastor Raymond Langford. In his place, however, this evening, representing that is Margaret Garden, the one who gives Margaret a round of applause. And representing AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority is their president, Cheryl Chambers. Give Cheryl a round of applause. Now again, we will start this next phase by asking questions, and they will be posed by members of our panel, and I will be letting you know who they will be asking the questions, who will respond to the questions that they are going to be asking. And so this question is going to go to Tuman, Williams, and Mayor Kwan. And the question is going to be asked by Cheryl Chambers.
Good evening, thank you. The first question, what policies would you implement to attract more businesses to Oakland?
Thank you for the question. So for me, the answer to this is that we begin by targeting businesses that are a natural fit for Oakland, meaning that we already have an existing infrastructure and a work pool of workers, rather, who are a good fit for this. That includes healthcare for me, technology. Now that Children's Hospital is partnered with UCSF, it also includes biotechnology, retail, obviously enough, hotels, food production, arts, and sports. I want to target 500, a minimum of 500 new businesses. I'll start by going after many of those small or mid-sized businesses that have had their leases bought out in San Francisco, who have workers who live in Oakland who would like to relocate here. I also, of course, in doing that, in terms of a strategy, have to alter the city's reputation for not being business friendly. We have that reputation, and that's part of the reason so many businesses go around Oakland instead of settling here. 6 of our 10 largest employers in town are public sector. And it's nice that we get them here, but we don't get all their jobs, and they create no tax base for us. Businesses create tax base, businesses create jobs, and we have to attract new ones here. Altering the perception of Oakland as not being business friendly means streamlining processes to expedite permits and the like. It means creating single points of contact for businesses to come here so they don't have to try and navigate a system figuring out who they're supposed to talk to. And it means being professional, both at the level of the city council and in the administration that you're dealing with in the mayor's office as well. Those are the things I'll do differently.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I was distracted here for a moment. The next one, was it Williams? Oh, it's Mayor Kwan. Okay.
I think I was the second one. So I'm actually very proud, if you look at some of my literature, of the economic turnaround we've had. When I walked in, the city was about $58 million in deficit. This June, we had $29 million more than we projected because the economy's grown. And so we do that in many ways. I'm probably the first mayor to really aggressively go and try to get international investments. That's why when Brooklyn Basin came in at $1.5 billion, then the other banks across the country who were ignoring us at a time when President Obama talked about how we saved the banks, and then they set on $7 trillion with a T, dollars, and wouldn't even look at investing in us. So that was absolutely critical. We also need just to grow our own businesses. If you look along the International Boulevard and Foothill and San Pablo, we've really worked hard with local groups, particularly minorities and others, to help them build their small businesses. I just hosted a digital conference to help small businesses network here in Oakland so they'd be stronger. That's a critical part of growing businesses, particularly for women and minorities. We have developed these area plans where we've sort of looked at the zoning, and so that when people are ready to grow, we've already figured out some of the traffic and other issues, and so that we can grow together. Coliseum City is an example, not just a football stadium, but entertainment, hotels, housing, the entire area, and we've done that for 4 or 5 parts of the city, and that attracts more people and makes it easier to bring people to Oakland. And when we have a little bit more housing downtown, we'll have retail too.
Thank you very much, Mayor Kwan. Mr. Williams?
The first thing I want to do is look at the infrastructure, the way the whole Oakland thing is structured. That's starting with City Hall. I'd like to make sure that everything in there was predicated toward business. You have to do your homework first before you do anything, and you have to go at the basics. Department by department, I would go through City Hall and audit every department to see where everything is and see who's there and what's being done and how experienced the people are. If you don't have experienced people in an organization, I've learned, you really can't get anything done. One of the things I look at is the fact that restructuring City Hall, especially the permits division, and going through there and getting some certified engineers that can actually look at things, look at blueprints, and analyze blueprints, and tell the people what is actually there. I am a common sense person. I don't agree with most what I hear, but I tell you, if you don't do your homework and you don't do your things right, you won't get anything off the ground. And building a ship taught me that. You have to do the infrastructure, and I'm gonna tell you, this infrastructure, in my estimation, is just funky, and that's being honest with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. I hope the audience, please give them a round of applause. That's the first question. And I hope before with the next question, you'll bear with me. I just recently had knee surgery, so this up and down is kind of wearing me out. So I'm going to sit as I introduce the other panelists to please come forward. The next question, one of the candidates is not here, so this question that's going to be asked by Ms. Margaret Gordon will be to Mr. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mess up your name.
That's okay.
It's Camramuz?
Yes.
Camramuz. And Mr. Wilson, our write-in candidate.
Washington. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The question is, how would your administration support small business?
the best way to help small businesses is to get out of their way and to provide a safe, inviting, and a beautiful environment for them to do business in. On the Oakland Mayor Movement platform, I have published 3 programs that would specifically address some of these things. Number 1 is to help our homeless people who are on the streets and need a lot of help in terms of getting off the streets. So there is a program on there that would use a funding through a tax on the alcoholic drinks of 10 cents per 100 proof alcohol to build public restrooms, to build programs for drug recovery, job training, and the like. Another program that I have is for converting the empty lots in our city to be mini parks, playgrounds, urban gardens, and that would be funded by a program that would tax the property owner one time. And then there's another program that would be launched, is a 1 day per year volunteer program for all citizens of Oakland to help rebuild our city and bring beauty and cleanliness into our streets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cameron. Mr. Washington, same question.
Really quick, grab a pen. Number 1, those are business centers that we have, the one that we have right in downtown Oakland, right next to the City Hall. Put one of those in every district at least, so that people who have small businesses and want to start small businesses can actually get to one, get to a center where they can get city help. Number 2, actually enforce the city law or the policy that says large contractors must work with small businesses. We have that in the rules which we have for contractors, and we don't enforce it. You go out to the city website and look for that, the small contractors and small businesses that the city is working with, and it doesn't work. Number 3, really simple, highlight city programs to work with small businesses. Encourage small businesses to be consortiums, to work together to get city contracts. Actually encourage them to work with the city. These are all simple things. Folks, these are not complicated. It's amazing this hasn't been done. But there's a 4th, and one more, just right from the top. Work with businesses and develop training programs. Here's the last one that you might want to consider. Oakland is a fantastic hub zone. What does that mean? Federal grants, federal assistance, federal contracts come to small businesses that operate in hub zones. That's what I'm actually working with small businesses on now. Actually getting federal grants and federal opportunities to work in hub zones so that you build the business whether or not the city wants to work with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Washington. The next question, Kitty Epstein, please come forward. The question will go to Anderson and Ruby.
The question is, what role do you see business cooperatives playing in the revitalization of Oakland?
Well, I see a major role. It's very important that we have what a workers' co-op is, and for people that don't know, is a collective business where every employee has a stakehold into the business. So therefore, there's several worker cooperatives throughout the Bay Area, and they work very well. It's actually a very democratic way of employing people. A lot of the movements that you've heard about, Occupy, was in some sense co-ops. Meaning that it was all crowdsourced, meaning everybody had a say-so, there was no one left out, there's no hierarchy. I believe that that's a solid way of doing business. It might not be the only way, but I'm always into alternatives, just like alternative resources, alternative economies. I'm also into alternative ways to employ people. I believe that there's never just one clear answer, just like in a capitalist environment, they force money down your throat. It's never one clear way to do anything. There's always several ways to do something, and people need to have that choice and that option to have that. In a workers' co-op, especially flourishing and having the city promote worker co-ops will be an excellent way for people that would not like to be in the hierarchy of a capitalist corporation and have more of a say-so in their stakeholder in their work and what they do in their job. So I'm all for workers' co-op. Thank you.
So the landscape of Oakland is changing, and we have so many artists and so many people coming here and innovating and just our local people that are innovating and wanting to do business differently. And so I think when we talk about worker cooperatives, that this is really critical for a community that has so many artists and so many innovators, that we are looking to make sure that we from City Hall is really business friendly, that we are talking to the cooperatives and understanding what their needs are, so that we are setting up so that City Hall is in alignment. What I consistently say is that City Hall needs to not be an impediment to business. What we know is that we've got permitting, businesses come in, they have a difficult time permitting, and then they get frustrated and they leave, or from public safety they leave. So basically the whole environment in which City Hall deals with businesses has got to be improved. We've got to make sure that we are customer service driven, that we are looking at our city, at our citizens and our business groups, and ensuring that we are providing the services that you need to prosper. That Oakland doesn't move forward without the innovation and success that is right here, right now. But Oakland City Hall needs to get out of the way so that we can actually realize Oakland's potential.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ruby. Coming forth, thank you for the applause. But Treva Reed is coming now to ask Candidate Schaaf and Candidate Parker a question.
In your opinion, what are the essential features of an effective economic development plan?
Thank you. That's a great question. Again, I'm Libby Schaaf, and I will tell you one philosophy that has got to infuse an economic development approach, and that is Oakland is not going to succeed by trying to copy another city. We cannot try and be like San Francisco or Emeryville. We have got to be ourselves well, and that depends on us learning from our past, our legacy, our assets. Oakland has always been a city of incredible social entrepreneurs, of artists, of blue-collar workers that make things, and that legacy is going to be part of our future. Now, my personal passion is around small businesses. I am not going to put as much energy into kind of trying to attract a Twitter to come to Oakland. I want to grow the businesses that have been here all along. I have done that already as a council member, where I have brought an innovative micro-lending program to Oakland, where we can bypass the questionable banks and crowdsource capital for our small businesses that often don't get access to traditional forms of capital. That is something that I will continue. Yes, we've talked about how we need to streamline businesses. We need to send a message that we're open for business. That goes without saying. I will also focus on our infrastructure. This city has some raggedy roads. Did I hear that? So how are we going to attract businesses if we can't get our infrastructure in place? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Our next question is going to be given by Cheryl Chambers. Cheryl, would you please come up?
Desi.
Oh, Brian, I'm so sorry.
I know it was because of that time I didn't give you time at the workforce meeting. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. No problem.
I won't give you any extra seconds, Harry.
All right, so let's get into this then. So I think that the features of an economic development plan, in my mind, are pretty straightforward. First of all, it's safe. We have to send a message, both for the businesses that are here and the ones that we want to attract, that we're going to have a safe city. Hopefully I can get into the safety plan a little bit later. But we are open for business, and I think we have to send that signal. We have to tell people that Oakland is open for business and brand and tell our story. We've got to be known for something other than crime. Being open for business, however, also includes an adherence to diversity and inclusion and making sure that all of our communities are included. I think that we do need to streamline processes down at City Hall. The sectors that we should focus on. I have a plan on the website that talks about 20,000 jobs by the year 2020. Port, trade, and logistics, healthcare, retail, and technology. I would hire a chief jobs officer to work with me to make sure that we are driving this message home and that we're recruiting people to come to Oakland and getting our businesses that are here to stay so that we're not losing the Cloroxes and the APLs. But an important part of the last piece of the economic development plan is workforce. And it's right here at Merritt College. It's all of our community colleges, and it is our workforce development system. If we're not training our kids better, starting in elementary, we are not going to have an educated workforce that is open to all.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Parker. Appreciate that. Ms. Cheryl Chambers, please. She's coming to ask a question of candidate Sidebotham and candidate Kaplan.
Describe how you would engage the business community to increase the number of jobs through the mayor's summer youth program.
I think that the summer youth program needs to include the businesses. This year, the mayor claims that she had a summer youth program. Unfortunately, it was only for a couple of weeks and they were part-time, and not all the students had the chance to be involved in that. Unfortunately, in Oakland, we don't have enough businesses with the capital to get involved in this. And that's one of the things we need to start looking at. How are we going to bring businesses to Oakland? Because we have youth without hope in this city. And we need to figure out how to bring that youth around and keep them in school, get them the education that they need so they can go into business and use their hands and do things. Not all of them are going to go to college. That's an ideal, but it's not going to happen. We need to bring programs back that the children of this city have options with which to learn from. So when you're talking about businesses being involved and how the businesses can get involved with the summer jobs programs, we need to also bring businesses in that have the capital to help fund that and not just rely on just a few people to get behind it. So I am all for that, but it's going to take all of us working together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kaplan.
It is absolutely essential to strengthening Oakland that we increase job opportunity for Oakland residents, including our young people. And with our businesses, we can use both the power of persuasion and the power of our own city contracting. When the city of Oakland is contracting with businesses to do work, like paving our streets and building construction projects in Oakland, we need to make that a term of the contract. So we're actually using our influence to require that. In addition, I will use my power of persuasion as mayor to reach out to additional businesses and community organizations to encourage them both to hire young people in the summer, year-round after school, as well as the hiring of adults in their permanent jobs. And that also means working with community-based organizations like Civic Corps, formerly known as the East Bay Conservation Corps, which already has a track record of hiring local youth. It also means fighting for policies like ban the box, so that people who've had some trouble will not be denied future economic opportunity and won't be pushed out of jobs. And it means looking at those businesses with a track record of hiring Oakland residents, including Oakland youth, and giving them support and making sure that they get treated properly and encouraged, because some businesses have been doing this for years and some community-based organizations have been doing it for years. So we need to lift up and support those that are doing the right thing.
Thank you very much, Council Member. Next question will be asked by Margaret Gordon for Mr. Tooman and Mr. Camermoose.
What is your strategy for increasing job training opportunities for the following population: youth, reentry, adults, and seniors in Oakland?
I don't know if I can cover everybody in 90 seconds, but I'll do my best, Margaret. Look, for young people, for me, the short-term strategy has to do with linking learning. Link learning, as we saw it, with community colleges, high schools, but also business. It also involves, where high school students are concerned, going back and rethinking about vocational education. In those high schools that have a science and math academy, I would invest in and introduce a nonprofit called Stride there that's capable of creating, in technology training, an industrial-grade certification after graduation that can help those students to actually work if they're not ready to go to college yet and get a job. I'm very supportive of that. In addition to that, we have to think about the trades right now for apprenticeships as well as small contractors in Oakland, and make sure if they're going into the trades that there's actually diversity in those trades if we're going to be demanding from them, the unions, project labor agreements, and I'll enforce that as well. In the long term, I think we have to be looking, where kids are concerned, about investing in preschool education. You heard Dan mention some of that today. I'm also a very big supporter as an educator in math literacy programs for preschool kids and also writing and reading. I can tell you that many of the students we get from Oakland who come to college have very poor writing and reading skills. This is a foundational problem in the elementary school. The African American Male Initiative that the school district is doing right now is an intervention in the high school. It is too late if you start in high school. You have to do that intervention in the elementary school, and that is where, and in the preschools as well, that's where you create the foundation. Finally, if we're talking about reentry, I'm out of time. I'm sorry. We'll continue it later. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cameron.
So when talking about the job expansion, we need to look at both sides of the equation, meaning both from an employee perspective, i.e. skilled resources, skilled citizens, as well as the employers, which would be businesses that would be located in Oakland. So, and as the first step, I would look to opportunities to expand our job training and our apprenticeship programs with the companies that do business with Oakland or in Oakland. That would be the mandate in the contracts that would be written, so that we have people who have skilled, marketable skills who can get jobs in the region. As a region, our unemployment is 5%. Oakland is almost twice as high as that. There are plenty of jobs to be taken. It's just that we need the people of Oakland to have the skills to compete for those jobs and take those jobs. In parallel, I would work with local businesses and national companies to bring in additional types of employment, particularly call centers. Call centers take fairly quick ramp up, and they would really benefit from the language diversity that we have in the city of Oakland, perhaps the highest concentration of multilinguals in the country. Along with that, construction and light manufacturing are other areas that would be able to uptake fairly quickly, and I would say that within the first 18 to 24 months, we're looking at somewhere 2,000 to 5,000 additional jobs or employment of our people outside of Oakland.
Thank you very much.